something you were very renowned for was your long kicking and, in particular, goal kicking. You could regularly kick goals from 60 plus meters. You only have to YouTube and jump on and watch a few of those old clips. But I want to, if you were to give advice to coaches on how to improve their players' long kicking, so let's just say you want to improve them by 10%. So a guy can kick a goal from 45 meters out to help them kick from 50 out accurately. What would be some of the advice that you would give that coach to pass on to the players?
Well, I hate to say this, but it's something that myself and my brother Sav just came naturally to us. Obviously, there is exercises and strength that you can implement to help that. Absolutely. So I'm talking about a lot of glute strength, a lot of quad strength, and things like that. And I hardly ever did leg weights when I was playing. So I can't it was just a natural strength that I had. Myself and my brother have had really good flexibility, which gave us a lot of momentum with the kick. So the follow through momentum. And if you watch particularly gridiron players, punters, and when Sav was playing, like his leg was up here, like it's almost parallel with his head, with his body. So the ability to have good flexibility is something that is I reckon follows the ability to kick far and the timing, particularly timing. The timing to put the ball onto your boot, the timing with your firstly with your run up. Your momentum, whether you've got a bit more momentum or whether you're walking in, I suggest you have a little bit more momentum, like a bit of a jog, bit of a run, and then the timing to put the ball onto the boot and the follow through. I always preach follow through when we're kicking, particularly when we're kicking set shots from inside 40, and even more when we're kicking from outside 50.
And so, what are the biggest sort of mistakes you see with goal kicking in general?
I do a lot of work with kids. I'm I'm a director in a group called Footy, and we work with kids from anywhere from the ages 9, 10 up to 18. The biggest things that we need to improve on is the follow through. So 2, 3, 4 steps after they kick the ball, and then momentum going towards the target. We see a lot of times that when the guys are kicking that they finish either left. A lot of them finish left, so their steps are going towards someone else going outside left. But what we preach a lot of is finishing towards the target that you're kicking. And when you see guys kicking on TV, their body's going. Sometimes their body's going in between the goalpost and the point post. And the ball goes straight. So you wonder why. Some people wonder why it goes through for a point. If they're not lined up between the goals, then most of the time it's not going to go for a goal. Some people have that natural arc of lining up there and bring that leg around and goes for a goal. Absolutely, that's someone's routine. But if we can practice and preach always kicking towards the goal, your leg following through going towards the goal, then most of the time, it sounds simple, but when that demon goes in the head that you're lining up for goal and at particularly AFL level, it gets quite frustrating at times. But that's what I preach: line towards the goal, running towards the goal, leg towards the goal, finishing towards the goal.
And that advice is it can be applied to senior football players all the way down to juniors, as you mentioned you're doing work with.
Yep. The more you can preach it with young kids and make a habit, then that'll be their habit going towards senior footy and so on.
Yeah, perfect. What are some of the key principles that you have for better and more consistent football?
The one that I always preach, and I'm an assistant coach down in West Preston in the Northern Footy League. The one thing I always preach is train the way you want to play. Always. You can just tell, like, if you're not going to train well, I got it. And this is the old Mick Malthouse term. If you don't train well, most of the time you're probably not going to play well. Obviously that's a bit different for some people. Some people can train at 50, 60%, and then they're monitoring themselves to be at high intensity for game day. Absolutely, I totally understand that. But if the habits that you want to create at training, so you can bring them through to game day, is something that I always preach: is train like you want to play.
And is there any particular players that you feel really do this well that you sort of just take notice of?
The best players in the competition. You look at the AFL: Pendlebury, Brodie Grundy, and I'm tipping the likes of Bontempelli, Callum Ward, those guys. I bet you they train at a high intensity every time, and it just carries over. It's just their habit. It's just natural habit.
Yeah, perfect. What are some of the most common general coaching mistakes that you see out there, and obviously at community football level, and I guess even AFL level?
At community level, a lot of coaches commentate the game rather than giving direct feedback to the coach about his particular area. There's another common mistake is watching someone else's area as well. If you're a backline coach, think about the backline principles, and obviously the defensive principles correlate for the whole ground as well as not just the backline. So more about don't commentate, be specific in your messaging to the head coach, and concentrate on your area. Have conversations within the group, within your coaching group, absolutely. Have discussions. You're going to have robust discussions at times, which is healthy. But, really be specific on what you want to achieve with your messaging.
And with your coaching, did you have any particular mentors that you've sort of got guidance from? And do you recommend coaches out there look to have a mentor to go to?
Absolutely. Look, I haven't got a specific mentor which I go to all the time, talk to once a week. I have people who I chat to every 3 or 4 months or 6 months. I don't speak to Mick Malthouse. I probably speak to him once, twice, 3 times a year. But he's one guy that I have a chat to about footy things. The other one's Scott Burns, who I've got a really good relationship with. He was assistant coach at West Coast, come to Collingwood, is now at Hawthorn, and we got a good relationship. We talk a lot of footy stuff together. Talk to Bucks every now and then about what's going on and things that I see, that even though I'm in a stood down period now, that there's a couple of things that I see with my role at Collingwood in aerial and ruck coaching that can be implemented if he takes it on board. That's their choice. Speak to Robert Harvey every now and then. Craig McRae, who was at Collingwood for about 3 or 4 years as a development coach. We've got a good relationship. Dale Tapping as well. We just probably not more about advice, but just about the game.
Yep.
And things we see. And what's happening at Brisbane and what's happening at Collingwood. We won't divulge deeply into specifics, but just a common thread about coaching.
And if you were to give advice to coaches out there in the community and school level to sort of sort out these type of people, how would you recommend they go about it?
Well, it's a hard one with the community people to try and get an AFL person or someone of that stature. Is pretty hard. But it doesn't have to be an AFL person. It can be a person that you've grown up with. It can be a friend. Sometimes the best advice has come from an outsider who doesn't know the game, but sees it in a different way that you do. So there's nothing wrong with that. Take that advice. My dad gives me advice about what's going on in Collingwood all the time. Most of the time, I just Yeah, Dad. Okay. But he does see the game. He always used to say to me, he goes, "Why don't we use the bloody corridor?" With an Italian accent, if you could get that. But sometimes I thought, yeah, we should use the bloody corridor. When I was playing, Mick Malthouse used to like to use the boundary lines as more of a defensive setup. But it doesn't have to be an AFL person. It can be your sports scientist who you've got at the club. It can be your fitness guy. He might see the game in a different way. Take those little advices, listen to them. You might not use them, but it doesn't have to be an AFL person.
Perfect. With regards to training, are there any sort of myths or mistakes you see with coaches doing with training on a sort of weekly basis, or anything that you see as a waste of time and I'll just get rid of completely?
I wouldn't see things as a waste of time, because I think you've got to sometimes things are trial and error. You might do a drill and go, nah, that didn't work, but you gave it a shot. You tried it, you thought it was going to work. Nah, I'll shelve it. Or you might take 15% of that drill that you did into another drill, try and create another drill. So I wouldn't blame anyone for trying something. At junior level, and I'm talking anywhere from the under 9s to 18s. There's a lot of emphasis on fitness, which is okay, but we've got to bring back the emphasis on skill, kicking, handball, the basics, kicking, handballing, marking, ground level. I just feel that we're not putting enough time and effort into the basic fundamentals of football. And part of my company that we're involved with, we create programs to improve junior football coaches. Some of them are doing a pretty good job, but a lot of them are just fathers and friends of friends who take the job, and they don't know any better. They've probably most of them only got their level 1 coaching is what is required to at that level. But the better we can upskill them to teach and give those kids a better experience, the longer they're going to retain and stay in our sport. But we've got to improve the kicking, marking, handballing, the basics.
Perfect. Now, if I were to sort of throw you in for a role, into maybe a senior coaching role in the community, and you had, say, 12 weeks before the season kicks off, what would be sort of some of the first things you'd be thinking about coming into that role, and how would sort of maybe your first week structure up if you had, say, a Tuesday and a Thursday night training, maybe a Monday night as well? How would it look?
Yeah, it all depends what sort of group I'm coaching. So if I'm coaching a senior level, like at West Preston in the Northern Footy League, if it's a pre-season, I'd be looking at some full ground drills, incorporating the kicks that we use during games. So it's well and good doing lane work, and you can do lane work, and I love doing lane work just to get people's confidence with their kicking. But it's drills that are implemented and that we use specifically during game. So it's out to the boundary, looking inside 45, kicking down the line, putting it to the front of advantage of a player running away from the footy, kicking into the full forward or the centre half forward in a straight up lead, kicking it to an advantage of a player. There's a lot of times we do one-on-one marking sometimes, and the player can't kick it to the advantage of where his teammate is. So you've got to practice those things. And